What's up? What's up? Welcome back to another episode of The Assist. I am your host, Dylan, at The Assist. Theodore, how you doing, brother? You blessed today? You doing good? You're sitting on your Zion jersey. How you feeling good because you're looking good? My man Theodore is good. LSU won, so I'm feeling good there. TBD on what my Saints are about to do. We got a lot going on, but before I jump into the episode, I need to let you know who we coming to you through. The Assist is a part of the No Network where we decided to bring you closer to all sports happening within the Gulf Coast area. If you're a Tulane Wave fan, congratulations. Welcome home. If you're an LSU Tiger fan, hold that tiger. Welcome home. Pelicans fan, Gold fan, whatever sport you're into, this is your one stop shop for all sports happening within the Gulf Coast. Congratulations. You're now rocking with the best. Yes. You're now rocking with the best. Yes. Welcome home. And you found your one stop shop. Let's get into it. So, I got another star, superstar guest today. This dude is not just a normal dude. He is not just a content creator, but he's one of the few humans that I can put on any episode and bring up any team, and he can hold his own for a whole hour episode. So, without further ado, let me welcome to the stage the incomparable, the one of one, the guy. First one baby, now he's got dose babies on him. My man Brett Usher, what's up, brother?
What's up, man? It's so good to talk to you again, man. Appreciate you having me on.
Of course, brother, man. It's a privilege to have you on anytime, especially want to show love to you because you jumped on all the way from the West Coast, man. You're like, what's it like, 8 o'clock there, 8:30?
I moved. I'm on the East Coast now, so it's 11:30.
What?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's
We're doing.
crazy.
Yeah, I was in. I don't even know anymore. Like, I think I'd maybe just moved to the East Coast the last time I talked to you, but I used to be on the West Coast. So, but yeah, so it's 11:30. But
I
it's
dig it, dig it, dig it.
but we're
Welcome to
here.
the East Coast,
Yeah,
brother.
I appreciate it, man. It's
Dig
cool.
it,
It's
dig it.
it's good to
What brought
be.
you to the East Coast, if you don't mind me asking? If it's private, you could just
I
say
mean,
just for the people at
I'm
home.
from here originally, from the East Coast, so I'm an East Coaster at heart,
Word.
and yeah, just mainly just to be closer to family. Like most of my family, my wife's family's back here, so that was probably the biggest thing. But yeah, so it's good to be back. I'm still kind of adjusting. Actually, I've been on the West Coast for so long,
Right.
but yeah, man. So. But yeah, it's good. It's good. The kids are asleep. It's 11:30.
Right, brother.
We're getting ready to talk some hoops, man. I love
Let's
it.
go. Let's go. Like I said, bro, congratulations on that new bundle of joy, man.
Appreciate
Greatest
you.
thing in the world is being a dad. And so knowing that you're moving across country to bring your kiddos closer to the fam, that
Yeah.
just shows the man that you are, Brett. Before we talk sports, we like to talk about life because that matters more than any sport we could ever talk about. And so shout out to you for honoring your commitment to being a dad by being a great one, brother.
Appreciate you, man. That means a lot. Thank you. Thank
Of
you.
course, of course. So let's get into it, man. You're looking at the New Orleans Pelicans coming up from the 2024-2025 season. Talk to me. Are you feeling optimistic or pessimistic?
Definitely optimistic. There's no doubt. I mean, I've been optimistic about them for the last couple seasons. Nothing has really changed in my mind. Yeah, they've definitely lost a few guys. They've added a couple guys. Things have been shaken up a little bit, but they still got Z. They still got Herb. You probably can't see the T-shirt, but we got the Herb Jones
I see.
all defense prop on the T-shirt. Still got Trey, CJ. So like, nah, I think I feel good about them. I think they had kind of like an underrated season last year. Like I
Yeah.
almost think a lot of people forget. Like I always say this about Pelicans fans are like kind of hard on the Pels. Like I always say this, but I feel like they have like really high expectations. It's not a bad thing. I think it's just a really smart, passionate fan base. But it's almost like 49 wins and the number 6 net rating wasn't good enough. Like and even you're in the playoffs in a very tough West. Like you did get in, but it was obviously kind of frustrating not having Zion in that series. But like if you can look at the season up until that point, like before Z went down against the Lakers, it was like I thought it was a really good, successful season. Like 49 wins is not nothing. And like I said, number 6 in net rating, like top 7 defense. Um, Really a dangerous team. And then unfortunately, injuries happened. I think that would have been a pretty good series against OKC if they had had Zion. So like, yeah, in my optimism, I'm thinking healthy Zion, which appears to be the case right now, and all signs point to him being ready to have a really big season. But obviously, that if he struggles with health again, then it's a different story. But right now, based on everything I'm seeing and hearing, and based on last season, I'm definitely optimistic. Yeah.
So is your primary sounds like your primary reason for your optimism is Zion. Is there anything else going on around the team that you're like, listen, with Zion, the key to it all is always health. We know that this guy, when he's available, he's one of one, second to none, basically, depending on who you want to put up that night. But is there something else going on? Because it's kind of hard to gauge Zion's health. Is there something else going on around the team that also has you leaning more towards optimism rather than pessimistic?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. And just like on the Zion note, like it's not only him being available, it's like him being available and in great shape, which is what I think we're gonna see this season too. Cause like, the first couple months of last season, like, November, December anyway, like he wasn't at his best. Like he was playing, he was on the court, but we could all see like he wasn't in great shape. It wasn't until like January where he really started um, getting back into shape. And we saw by the end of the season, he was flying. He looked like as good as he's ever looked. So I think that's a big part of it too. And he looks to be in great shape. So like that's definitely not just him being healthy, but him being, very well conditioned. But yeah, aside from that, like I think Herb's got another level. I think Trey's got another level. I think Hawk hasn't scratched the surface. Like, that's the guy. Like, I mean, again, they're a deep team. They're a very deep team. It's going to be a little bit of a challenge, maybe to find him the minutes when they're at full strength. I think they will. I think they have to. But that's just another like low key thing that I'm optimistic about. And then like DeJounte is really probably the big thing, like aside from Zion. Like if we're talking about the difference between last year and this year, like obviously that's the big one. And I just think he's a heck of a player, and I think he does what they do well. Like he fits what they want to do. He fits their identity. And he adds more length. He opens some possibilities, like in terms of small ball lineups, things they can do as like a 6'5" point guard with super length, and a lot of defensive ability that I think people may have forgotten about because of his stint in Atlanta. And I think he even spoke on this, where it's like, a lot of it is team. Like a lot of it is the team context. Like if the team is if the identity is like locking down, it's a lot easier for a player to like buy in and lock down. But if the team's not playing any defense, like Atlanta last season in particular, maybe like the motivation's not there, or like it's just hard to be a great defensive player when you're surrounded by a team that's not really playing defense. So
Right.
I think we could see like a little throwback to that all defense San Antonio version of DeJounte, now that he's going to be surrounded by some guys who can guard. Like, I mean, Herb's obviously super elite, but he's not the only one. So yeah, DeJounte's a big reason. I think that's gone like a little under the radar. The fact that the Pelicans added this dude that was an all-star a couple years ago, that was all defense in his second season, that averaged like whatever it was, 22, 23 a game last year, like to just like it just feels like such an upgrade. And I don't think it's been talked about enough, like at least not outside of like the Pelicans fan base.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, for sure. One of the things you just said something, Brett, that I really, really, really want to lean into. You said that who DeJounte Murray was in San Antonio is more of who you perceive that he is. And that's my hope. I told everyone I love this ideal of having DeJounte Murray, but more than having DeJounte Murray, I prefer to have San Antonio DeJounte Murray, which was his 1 year as an all-star. I mean, the man averaged 21 points, 9 assists, 8 rebounds, and 2 steals that year. Imagine that. Or maybe I might have flipped it. No, it's
I
yes,
think that was right. I think that was right.
21 points, 9 assists, 8 rebounds and 2 steals. Imagine that next to Herb Jones in the backcourt.
I'm saying, and he does it in with 6'5", and like he might have like a 7 foot
Six.
wingspan. I'm not
I
sure,
agree.
but it's up there. And he's still young, and yeah, man, and like there's just a lot to, like he's a great dude. Like we've all kind of um seen the kind of like the interviews he's done and just everything that he's had to say since joining the Pelicans. Like he has said the right thing at every, but it's all real. Like he really is that kind of dude. Great character guy and like super clutch, like hit more game winners than anybody last year. I don't even have to look that up to know that it's true.
Facts.
And probably a better shooter than he gets credit for. Not
Ooh.
CJ McCollum, but a damn good, like a volley. Like he gets him up, man. Like he shoots a pretty high volume from three and a decent percentage. Like I'd say he's better than he gets credit for in that regard. And like look, like in Atlanta, like it's no secret. It was just a bad fit with Trey.
Yeah.
It was just an awkward fit. And like he was good and Trey was good and like um but it wasn't a great fit, and I think this is going to be a better spot for him. Maybe like off court and on court. I
I
think he's
agree.
really gonna. He seems to fit in, and so I have a lot of faith in him. Really like excelling with the Pelicans. So like if we're talking outside of Zion, like outside of the obvious, like that's the next thing that comes to mind. Like why I think they could be as good or even better than they were last season.
I agree wholeheartedly. I think DeJounte Murray is a missing cog in multiple different ways. From a leadership standpoint, yes, I know CJ is someone you lean to from the professionalism phase, and you got Brandon, who's your silent leader, and Zion is like the most talented guy on the team. But DeJounte is like the best of it all. Like he's like Rajon Rondo, except probably not the same IQ level because Rajon Rondo was a computer out there.
Yeah,
Like he
yeah.
wasn't even real, but he gives you more capabilities. I don't know. Hopefully, I'm not disrespecting the legend that is Rajon Rondo. I think he's going to be a Hall of Famer eventually,
Should
but
be.
he gives you kind of that same stuff. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like cut from that same cloth. And we saw what happened when we had a Rajon Rondo in New Orleans. The dude got in, it got put into the starting lineup once DeMarcus Cousins went out and orchestrated a team that swept the Trailblazers. I mean,
Yeah.
imagine bringing that in with this level of talent. He can get CJ McCollum off the ball, and he can put Brandon Ingram in his positions where he succeeds. He can put Zion in his positions, and you've got a young center base, which we'll talk about in a second, that he can lean into, guide, and protect them from themselves. I agree with you on that Dejounte point, but with bringing DeJounte into the equation, that brings you to a very precarious situation. Now you've got 6 starters.
Yeah.
What is your starting lineup on opening night, Brett?
It's tough. Like I've been asked this a couple times, and I mean, I think first and foremost, like I really like the idea of CJ as the sixth man. Like that's the one guy. That's probably who I put on the bench, right? Regardless, because like you said, there's 6 starters and 7 if you want to say like they need to have a traditional center starting, which I get the argument for. Like, if you I, it's tough. Like, who do they play opening night? You know what I mean? Like, because
Right.
I do think like there's a possibility that they could mix up their starting lineup depending on matchup. Like that wouldn't surprise me at all. Like the lineups that most intrigue me with this team are the small ball lineups, right? With Zion essentially as the 5, right? Especially now with DeJounte, because they were running those lineups a lot last year. They had a lot of success with them, and a lot of them had Jose in there as the one. And like Jose is great. He's going to be a big part of things. He just re-upped with an extension just today, 2 years, $9 million. That's a very team friendly deal. Like I think he's actually worth a lot more than that. But like a lot of those lineups now, you can plug DeJounte in and just kind of get that extra length while still kind of going small. But in terms of like, I'm not too worried about like who starts. Like
Hmm.
I just want to I would just say go with the small ball lineup from the start. Like go with
Ooh.
Herb, Trey, Bi, DeJounte. Like I think that you
No,
got
you missing one. That's a you got a five. Who's your fifth?
now it would be DeJounte at the
Zion,
one,
Trey. Yep.
DeJounte at the one, Bi I guess at the two,
Yep.
whatever. Trey I guess at the 3, Herb
Yep.
at the 4, Zion at the 5. However you want to
Ooh.
uh, you know, define the positions, because I think you go a couple ways on a couple of those. And then like CJ as your sixth man, and then Tice, and Carlo and Eve Misi off the bench as like your bigs. But like, but I don't know. I understand the argument too for just like starting Tice next to Zion, like because you look around the league, like, yeah, there's some big guys you're gonna have to be dealing with, and they, that start, and like maybe you don't want to be at that size disadvantage right off the bat. So I would understand that, but also there's not that many Joel Embiids, there's not that many Nikola Jokic. You know what I mean? Like I looked around the league, and it's like I think against a lot of these teams, they'd be fine with that small lineup, even off the jump. I think they'll close with that lineup more often than not. That small lineup I just pointed out, but maybe with CJ in there, like that's where it does get tricky. Like you said, like they have 6 guys that are absolutely NBA starters.
I prefer to never see CJ McCollum close a game unless he's hitting. Like
Yeah.
unless he's
Well,
on
that's
fire.
what they would have to do though. Is just like kind of just go with, you know what I mean? Like it can't just be arbitrary. Like they'll have to just be like, we'll close with whoever's going. Like obviously Zion, I think obviously Herb, I think obviously BI, but then with like the DeJounte, CJ thing, like maybe that's where it's kind of like whoever's got it going.
I feel
You
like
go with
you
that one.
Yeah, I feel like with DeJounte, that's kind of what you brought him in for, right? Was those because he's historically, as you said, historically known as the fourth quarter guy.
Yeah.
Like that is his go time, and I feel like you brought him in specifically because you've historically blown leads in the fourth quarter, and you've peed the
Yeah.
bed in the fourth quarter. And so when I think of a fourth quarter lineup, my brain instantly goes to DeJounte, Herb. Herb is guarding your first best player. DeJounte is guarding your second best player. And then now you've got Zion and Brandon Ingram free. They
Yeah.
can specifically focus on offense. Now,
So maybe
mind you,
between Trey and CJ, then it would
yeah,
be
yeah, I
okay.
agree with that.
Yeah. That might make more sense. I'm with you. Yeah,
I'd
yeah.
agree with that 100%.
That's a
I
shoot. Like that's a shoot. You got to have shooting, and like
space
those,
the
they're
floor out.
both elite shooters. And
Yes. Speaking of Trey, he's in the contract year. What's your expectations of him?
I mean, I hope they get a deal done by the deadline for an extension. Like I hope to me, it's weird that they haven't. I don't know how many guys from that draft class have deals, have extensions done. It's probably like 5 guys, maybe, right? Like, excuse me. Franz, Mobley, Cade, right?
Yeah, yeah. The top
Halliburton,
guys in
but
there.
yeah. But Halliburton wasn't in that class. I'm
No, no,
sure.
no, no.
Oh, they were 21. But anyway, I think it's like 4 or 5 guys only. But I think Trey should be in that group. So that's first and foremost. Like I think it's weird that they haven't extended him yet, and maybe they will in the next.
Yeah.
I think they've got like 3 weeks till the extension deadline for those guys, and I hope they get something done. But aside from that, like I mean, I think he's gonna last season. Like obviously he was hurt entering the season. He missed training camp. He missed the first however many weeks of the season. I forget when he came back. If it was like late November, December, somewhere in there. And when he came back, he didn't quite have his legs under him. Like you could tell it wasn't quite the same dude from the season before. Had some inconsistency, got it going
Yeah.
eventually, and kind of like became the player we thought. But because like, you go back, like I think we probably talked about it last time we talked, like he was primed for like a major breakout.
Yeah.
Right. And then he
Yeah.
had the knee injury, and missed all that time in training camp. And it just set him back. So like we didn't get to see that leap that we all expected, rightfully so. And I think that's essentially what we're gonna see this year because, fully healthy off-season training camp, opening night, and let's go. Like I mean, I think Trey's got a lot of untapped upside, a lot more he can do on the court. And I think he's, one of the very best shooters in the league, like top 5 maybe. And like, so I just think we're going to see that leap that we all kind of expected to see last season. I think it just got delayed because of the injury. And that's huge. But like, again, they're loaded, and it's like, it's tough to find adequate minutes and role for all these guys. Like with BI there, it's going to be tough. Like it's going to be tough for Trey to start and like
Yeah.
to get 30 plus minutes a game. Like, I hope they can find a way. But yeah, that it's going to be interesting to pay attention to, like just to see like how much of a priority he is, how much they value what he provides. Because from where I'm standing, like he's pretty much the perfect player to pair with Zion.
Right.
Like he's a
Right. Right.
better, like in a vacuum, Bi's probably a better player right now. But like if we're talking about how they fit with Zion and with what this team wants to do, and with what the best version of this team ultimately would look like. Like I think Trey's more valuable in that sense than Brandon, and of course he's younger. And so yeah, that's going to be interesting. But I think we're going to see a great season for him. And if it's like, if it ends up being 27, 28 minutes a game, maybe the numbers aren't like through the roof. But I think just in terms of like quality of what he's giving you on court, it's going to be really high. Like I think he's a heck of a player.
Right.
So yeah.
Right. He gave you 29.6 minutes per game last year. I feel as
Okay.
though with the Najee Marshall leaving and Larry Nance leaving and so many
Yeah.
other guys
Should
leaving,
get 30.
you'll get up to around that 30, 31
Yeah.
minutes per game. And like you said, they're going to lean a lot with JV gone. They're going to lean a lot into the small ball lineup, and that's
Have to.
going to put them on the floor and in an extremely, that's not a grammatically correct sentence, but that's going to put them on the floor a whole lot more. So I think we'll see a expanded role for Trey. I'm just intrigued to see what that expanded role looks like. Is he learning his in between game? Has he developed the midi? Is he able to guard post? Because I mean, the guy that I was watching last year, his so we talk a lot, Brett, about IQ on offense, right? But the great ones have an defensive IQ as well. They know how to play the angles. They know how to play the guy's tendencies. They know how to play. Okay, he's gonna spin over his left shoulder if he's going right. He's coming. You know what I mean? And obviously, I'm not asking Trey to be that guy, but you have to be um, you have to be some sort of reliable if I'm putting you out there to guard fours and fives instead of just wrapping guys up getting fouls, because the counter is you're in foul trouble and now you're sitting on the bench in the fourth when I need you. So my hope is that my hope is not so well. My focus is not so much on the offensive end with Trey, because he's going to give you what he's going to give you. It's more about what is he going to look like on a night to night basis from a defensive
Yep.
standpoint. Because man, if he locks in or he takes that leap like Brandon took his second year in New Orleans from a defensive standpoint, when he had Stan Van Gundy come in, and obviously I know he didn't like Stan, but still, I mean, that leap was something. So I'm intrigued to see what that looks like. Outside of Trey and Zion and Brandon, though, I'm going to put you on the hot seat here. Outside of those three guys, who is your sleep, and DeJounte, because we talked about him already. Who is your sleeper that you're like, this guy, y'all aren't talking about him enough in New Orleans? I need to hear more about this cat. Is there anybody?
I mean, Hawk, I think is the natural choice for me. Like, I think he's just an elite shooter. And the way he shoot, is not like he can shoot it on
You
the
know what you
move.
just
Like,
did? Keep talking. You're making me
he is
real happy right now.
He's
Let's go.
that dude,
Let's
man.
go.
I'm a big Hawk fan, man. I really do think he's special. I think he's one of the better shooting prospects to enter the league in a very long time. And I think he's got a little bit of upside outside of that. Not that I think, this season, like the shooting is going to be the main thing for him. Like, and if he can guard a little bit, he certainly puts in the effort, gets a little stronger. He might be, an average defender, which would be great.
Yeah.
I think it's weird. Like, as you know, like I was at Summer League. I saw the Pels in person, and Hawk, like it was very inefficient. I don't know what the numbers were overall,
They were
but in the
bad.
game I
That's what
saw
they
it was
were.
bad, right? But he was not playing his normal role. Like he
Right.
was on ball a lot of like they were asking, he was creating on ball, and when he was off ball, like the spacing was all screwed up. He didn't have playmakers to get him the like it was nothing even remotely resembling what the Pelicans offense would normally look like. So I just looked at it as these are great reps for him. Like he's doing stuff that he wouldn't normally get to do. So cool, great experience. I don't give a crap about the numbers. Like it's but I think that summer league kind of like cooled people on Hawk because the Hawk hype was there, and it felt like with like kind of like a subpar summer league showing, like it just kind of died off, and like people stopped talking about him. And I did not read into that at all. I was there, I watched it, I get the context of it. Completely different than when you're playing with Zion. Zion, drawing the defense with his gravity, and Trey on the other wing, and like it's completely different. So I think within the context of the actual Pelicans offense, he could be very valuable as early as this coming season. He certainly was last season at times too. So like and like you said, like you made a good point. Like they lost some guys, right? Like they lost Najee, they lost Dice, they lost JV and Larry, who are bigs, but still like there's going to be some opportunity opening up. They're still deep. They added some guys, but like I think Hawks got a slot there where he could slide in because shooting is going to be just super valuable for this team. And we could get to this too more later, but like I do think that that's something they really need to, like, there's no reason they should be in the bottom third of the league the last 4 years in 3-point attempts. Like they have too many good shooters. Like they should be in the top 5. Like you've got CJ McCollum, you've got Trey Murphy, you've got Hawk, you've got improved Herb Jones. Like you got Brandon, who should be shooting a couple more. Like you should be, one of the most like prolific teams from deep in the NBA. You should not be down there at the bottom of the league. So I hope they address that. And if they do, I think you're going to have to look at Hawkins as a big part of it because there's not many guys that can shoot it on the move like he does. So yeah, long-winded answer, but that's I'm a big fan of Hawk, man, and that would be like my sleeper. Maybe the deep sleeper would be Carlo. I don't know. Like he was on the opposite end of the summer league spectrum. Like he really showed out at summer league, and if this is going to be their roster, like I don't know, man. Like who's his competition at like traditional center? Like when they're not going small, right? Okay, it's nice. Like Yves Missi. Like I don't know, man. Like I think he's kind of an interesting player. Maybe not this season, but he's one to watch. But he's more of a deep sleeper.
What do you? Two questions. First question: you were I forgot that you were at summer league. Outside and in between the games, what was Jordan's demeanor after those games? What was he? What did it seem like it was getting to him the way he was shooting, or was he kind of still engaged outside of the 4 lines?
You know what? I can't really speak on that. Like I probably didn't look closely enough, but I would say like on the court though, like he like was the leader of the team. You know what I mean? Like he was the guy, right? He was the guy. He was the guy with the rock. He was the guy taking the shots. He was just like he was the guy on that team. Like he was the main dude, and rightfully so because he had a nice rookie season. Especially when he was actually getting minutes. So I would say that he was like the clear, the man, or however you want to put it, on the team. But I certainly didn't see any like negative or any frustration or anything. Like it seemed like kind of like what I just laid out, just in terms of the context. Like I think he probably understands that and better than any person watching the game does. He's like, yeah, this is different than. Like it's going to be different when that's Zion with the ball and me, running off that pin down. So I didn't see any kind of frustration or anything, but it was more just like with fans that were kind of like expecting him to like win summer league MVP. And it's like, he's not, at least not yet. Like he's not the type of player that would do that. Like he's more of a guy that is going to thrive based on, the skill sets of other players. He's a great like complementary player right now. I think the on-ball stuff can come, and like I think he showed some really interesting flashes of it in summer league, but it's not quite there yet. So he's more of just like run off screens, catch and shoot, space the floor, and I think he's going to have a pretty nice role next season. I think people are kind of sleeping on him.
Okay, I dig it. Listen, you preaching to the choir over here, brother.
Hey, Hawk fans all around, man. I love it.
Preaching to the choir.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm Hawk all day. I don't care what these people gotta
I'm saying
say.
I haven't sold a penny of my Hawk stock,
Not a chance.
man.
And if they
No.
selling it, call me
Yeah,
first. I'll buy
same,
every
same. Yeah,
single one of them.
I'm
But
with
you
you.
talked about Carlo, and you said he's kind of your deep sleeper. What makes you so excited about Carlo? I had a conversation with Chris Connor, and he preferred that Carlo not breathe the lineup air at all. And so
I
he
mean,
preferred that he his only
look,
move that he
man.
make is to high five and
No,
say, "Good job, brother."
I think that's honestly like that's fair. Like I get that. Because like I didn't know who he was until summer league, and then I'm sitting there watching the game. I think against I don't even know, might have been against the Spurs, and I'm just like, yo, who is this dude? Like he had a couple of crazy dunks, but like it looks like he can shoot the ball, right? Like Zion's never really had like a proper floor spacing five, right? Like mostly like JV can make the occasional three, like we know, but I don't know. Like he looks to me like he can shoot it. He was kind of like sneaky athletic and just looked like kind of a smart player out there. Like he just looked really comfortable. But hey, that's summer league. Like
Yeah.
I'm not. That's why I said like deep sleeper. Like if he emerged as like in the rotation at some point in the season, it wouldn't surprise me. But like I'm not like putting any expectations on him. Like I need to see more because
Okay.
I just saw that game and like another one. I saw like highlights of another one where he played well at summer league. But it's mostly like that more speaks to like just their lack of centers. Where I'm
Mhm.
like digging into Carlo and Misi, where it's like, could they be something? Because I'm just not all that excited about Tice. Like I think he's solid. I think he's like a nice bench player in the NBA. Because they lost Larry and JV. So it's like it's one of the most glaring like roster like position holes in the whole NBA is
Yeah.
Pelican center. So that's probably more why I'm thinking about Carlo. Like if they had, somebody else like a clear starter or like, maybe yeah, these guys aren't gonna play, but they might have to play Carlo depending on how things go. So
So
that's
what you're telling me is Carlo is the best of the ugly litter.
I don't know. It might be Misi. I really don't know. I haven't seen enough of either of those guys, man. I know what I'm getting with Tice, and I'm not that excited about it. I think he's solid. I think he's an NBA player. I think he's a rotation player. I think
Hmm.
he's a nice pickup. I really do. But I don't know. I think I'd rather have Larry than him.
I dig it.
And in terms of the other two guys, like they're both interesting in their own ways. Like Misi's obviously very athletic, but if you're like counting on Carlo or Misi to like contribute this season, like you might have a problem there. And it's like, again, like let's embrace the small ball. We're obviously going to see a ton of it. I think their roster speaks to that. But you can't do it all the time.
Right. I
Right.
agree.
You can't do it all the time. You're going
I
to get
agree.
killed against certain units like with those lineups. So like you can go to it a lot. I hope they do, but like I do think they need like another big
Yeah.
or like Tice to just like I don't know, like be
Grow
better
over
than
the
he's ever
summer.
been, grow 3 inches and be
Over
better
the
than he's ever
summer.
been, or one of the young guys to really like emerge, which like I don't think it's fair to expect that.
Yeah.
Because it puts a lot on the other guys. Like you made a really good point about Trey's defense. Like they're gonna need him to defend and to be able to
Right.
guard fours and fives. He's
Right.
big enough,
Yeah.
right? He's big enough. He's athletic enough. I don't doubt his effort or anything like that. But just in terms of learning how to guard those guys, just like you said, that was a really good point. And the same applies to Herb and Zion and Bi. Like they've all kind of got to buy in to run those kind of lineups on a consistent basis. Like they've all got to be able to switch and guard up and guard as a unit. And that's going to be the key, unless they bring in another center and then we can kind of rethink things. But as things stand, it's putting a lot on those guys for sure defensively.
Man, I'm still to this day, and they call me crazy, and in Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it. When I saw that Walker Kessler, the starting point was a couple of second round picks. and I didn't see that we at least put out a flyer. Because, I mean, the league is a big mouth league right now. If you breathe wrong, somebody reports that they were breathing wrong in Sacramento. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? And,
yeah,
like, to not send a flyer, that means you have to be extremely confident for what you have. And one name we're not really mentioning is Jeremiah Roberts Earls. You
Jerry.
know,
Yeah,
this Louisiana guy. Dad is a legend in Baton Rouge, Glen Oaks. Legendary.
yeah. He
So
played
I'm
for the Celt. I think where did he play? He played in the NBA briefly, right?
his dad.
Yeah,
Yes, yes, his dad did. He played in the league a little bit. He was in the one of the first slam dunk contests. Now that I think about
yeah,
it. So he
yeah,
was big time for a second, but I think injuries and kind of tailed him out of the league and things like that. But if you go to Baton Rouge and you mention the Earl name,
yeah.
yeah, he's one of them one.
Yeah, that's definitely. I should have mentioned him too. He's again, but he's kind of more of a forward
Layering up
size guy.
size.
Like he
Yep.
can, yeah, even smaller though. I think he's maybe
Right.
6'7". Now
Right.
he does. He can play some five. Um, I'm pretty familiar with him because I watch a lot of Thunder, and I saw a lot of him there. Like he's solid, but he's kind of in that Tice,
Yep.
like
Yep.
NBA player, rotation player, quality player, great team guy, all that stuff. Like good player, guy you want on your team. But like, I don't know if any of these guys like answer the issue
Yeah.
of not really having like a great big,
Yeah.
or even like a good like a close to average starting big. And that's where that's the only real thing with this team. It's like what are they going for here? I mean, they have so many good players. They're so deep. They have so many good wings and wing size guys that like I don't know, man. Maybe they really can just make it work. But God, I'd love to just have like one more, quality big.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just
I
just
think
for like
what's
just for when you go up against
Yes, when
those
you go up
guys
against Victor Wembanyama,
or
Zach
Victor,
Edey, I
right?
mean,
Edie, yeah, Jokic,
yeah,
Embiid, like
Jokic, just in the
there's
West,
honestly
man.
probably like 6 or 7 guys I'd really be worried about at most in the NBA in
Valid.
terms of that. But like, I do think you need somebody for those guys because you might face one in a playoff series.
Right,
Like you
right.
might get Denver in a
Yeah,
playoff series. Who knows? You might get San Antonio one of these years soon.
right.
Like, so you might get
Historically,
Memphis. You might get
historically,
Memphis. Like Edie could have like he could have a not even great. I think he's going to be really good as a rookie,
yeah,
but he could have
yeah,
a not great rookie season. But he could feast against the Pelicans because it's like, what are you going to do against that guy? I mean, you're going to have advantages on the other end, no doubt.
right.
But I don't know which is going to outweigh the other. So,
I
uh,
agree. Especially when you don't play like the Golden State Warriors where you can afford to give up a two because you know you're gonna get a three on the other end. It's
yeah.
like
Maybe they
you're
should start
banking.
thinking that way though. Like I really
I
think they
agree.
have the shooters. Like
I agree.
CJ had one of the best shooting seasons in NBA history last year. I think Trey's an even better shooter than him.
Yeah.
And I think Hawk is like could get to that point
Right.
soon, like where he's
Right.
on that level too. So I don't know. Maybe that's what they're going for. Maybe that's how they have to start thinking about it because that's not the way that they've played. But I think they have the personnel and they can certainly force turnovers and they have the guys to play fast. So I'm kind of hoping we see like sort of a different look than we've seen. Just a faster team, higher 3-point volume, more small ball. But because I think you just kind of got to embrace what you have,
Yep. I agree.
rather than try to be something you can't be. So,
100% agree.
you
100%
know,
agree. All right, we're gonna have a little fun. So we're gonna play a game of buy or sell. I'm gonna give you five topics, and you gotta tell me with each one I'm buying or I'm selling that. I'm not selling that, and you gotta let me know why. You ready?
I'm ready. Let's
All right.
go.
First one is this: Basketball Reference has reported that they project that Jordan Hawkins is going to average 16 points, 2.5 assists, and 5 rebounds per game. Are you buying those stat lines? Are you
16
selling
points per game?
16, 4 rebounds, 2 assists?
No, man. He's not going to average 16, I don't think. I'm selling. I'm not buying that. No.
All right. All right.
I love Hawk, but I mean, like, you know, I don't know if the Pels averaged like 130.
Prove them wrong, Hawk.
Hey, I wouldn't rule it out. But if I have to, I would not. I wouldn't rule it out because
It's not happening.
injuries. I know, but hey, what if there's injuries? what if you know what I mean? Like, what if he
Yeah,
gets thrust into like
yeah,
a 35-minute a game role? Then he probably would. But
yeah.
based on like what I'm projecting for his minutes, I don't think there's any way.
So what are you
Her
thinking for
36
him?
maybe,
What are you
but
thinking for him? He
I
averaged
don't know.
7 last year, 7, 2, and 2, or
I
something
think
like
we could
that.
get. I think I'm thinking double figures.
7, 2, and 2, yeah,
Yeah, I
last
mean,
year.
I'd say like 10, 11. I think I'd feel good about because I do think, like I said, I think he's gonna have a role. I think he's gonna play, but I'd say like 10, 11
All
points
right,
per
all
game.
right. Buy or sell, Zion Williamson will be top 3 in the MVP vote this coming year.
Oh, that's tough because I want to say bye because I was thinking this, just thinking about the Pels, like how he has. I'm gonna sell though top three. If you had said top five, I might have got a little more adventurous there.
Who's
I'm
that
gonna
top 3?
top three. I'm gonna nah. I'm gonna sell on that. I don't think quite top three.
Who's in that top 3?
I mean, I'm gonna say Luca,
Okay.
uh, Luca, Jokic.
Oh, Jokic again.
Yeah, he'll be in there if he's healthy. Probably go Shea because I think they're gonna be, probably maybe the best team in the league. And
Yeah. My 3 was JT, Luca, Shea.
JT's a good pick. I feel like he could have a
He's mad.
really great season. Yeah, and they're obviously going to be awesome. But like, if you had said top five, though, I think I would have said bye because I think he could get in there. Like, I think he could be in the conversation. And I usually define the conversation as like top five.
Yeah.
But I think
It's
he's
all
gonna have a monster season. But it's just like I don't know. I just think there's going to be guys that put up better numbers on better teams, like
yeah.
Jokic or Tatum or Shea, whatever. Like, because Zion, I don't think is going to have like the crazy counting stats. Like, I don't think he's
Right.
going to average 30.
Right.
Right. Like, it's just not his game. Like,
Right.
he's more of like, I could see like 26, 27. Right. But I don't know about like 30. So,
But do you
uh,
think he'll be able to average that 30 now? Because I did some research on this. Zion historically would fade towards the beginning of the third quarter, or like the second. No, he would fade at in the second quarter and at the beginning of the fourth quarter. And I thought it's just because he was just letting the game come to him, but come to find out that was the majority of the time when his energy would be depleted. Do you think with this loss of weight and him being more intentional about his conditioning even before the season started, do you think that could add a couple points and get him over that 30 threshold? Because
yeah,
if he could
it could.
score
It could.
40, I mean, he
Yeah.
showed us.
He has, but like if you look at, like he just hasn't been one to have like these massive, like how many 40-point games has he had? Like
Right.
maybe like two or three in his
Right.
career.
Right.
Like he'll have a lot of, 30s, a lot of like 28s, but he just kind of hovers around that range. But no, that's a good point. Like if he really is in the best shape of his NBA career, I wouldn't rule out like it because he did average like 27 one year, I think, right? Like I
Hmm.
wouldn't rule out him getting up to like 30, but I guess just my general point is like, like somebody like Jokic, his stats are going to be really hard to compete with. And I think I probably would have the Nuggets projected to have a better record than the Pels. But hey, what it would take is like for the Pels to like exceed all expectations, be on like a 55 win pace all season. And him have the best season of his career. And then yeah, he's probably right there. But I'll
Yeah.
sell on top three. I would buy on top five though. Let me
Yeah.
let that be known.
To answer your question, he's only had 2 games in his entire career where he scored 40 plus. Once against the Minnesota Timberwolves, when he on December 28th, he had 43, 5 assists and 3 rebounds, and then the second time was obviously the LA
The play-in.
game that we thought
Yeah.
that was going to be okay.
He kills the Timberwolves, man, every
Oh
time, I
my!
swear. It's
I think
crazy.
Rudy Gobert. I think he don't like croissants. I think Zion's got something against
Oh no,
croissants personally.
he goes at Rudy.
I
He's
agree.
a nightmare for Rudy.
I
That's what it
agree.
is.
I love it. All right, buy or sell. CJ McCollum wins six man of the year.
I'm gonna buy. Assuming he comes off the bench, I'm gonna buy. You know what I mean? Like I'm gonna buy. Like he obviously can't win it if he starts, but I'm leaning towards that they will do that. And if he does come off the bench, I do think he would win it. He would be my pick. If he
What would
comes
you,
off the bench, he's my pick. I'll put
why
it
would
that
he
way.
be your pick? What is he? What do you think about his game that you just feel like
I think
he?
I just think he'd be probably the best bench scorer
Hmm.
certainly in the NBA, probably the best bench player. overall, if he's playing like he did last season, I mean his shooting last year was crazy.
Yeah,
Like
insane.
43% on over 8 attempts per game from deep. Like only Steph has done that in
Yeah,
in,
it's crazy.
in NBA history. So I just think he's like way overqualified for that role. And I also think like because he's so good and because of his contract and because of who he is, like he's going to get starters minutes if he comes off the bench. I think he'd get pretty much as many minutes as he got this past season. So, and just like, I don't know, I really just like his fit with this team, especially now, like
Yeah.
heading into this season. Like I really like how he fits in. So yeah, I just think he's way overqualified and it would be like one of the better sixth men like we've seen in recent memory. Honestly, like I don't know, like you think about the great sixth men, all the six man of the year award winners, and like I think he's up there with any of them. Really, like he's a heck of a player.
Yeah.
So to have a guy like that, coming off the bench would be just a crazy luxury. And I think it makes the most sense, regardless whether they start Zion and Tice or Zion with that small lineup. I think with DeJounte there, like it just makes the most sense to have CJ off the bench with what he provides with the scoring punch that he could bring and also some playmaking,
I agree.
playing either guard spot. So I'm buying CJ as sixth man of the year.
I agree. And I think for CJ's career, he's at that point now where he can almost extend his career, right? By taking that six-man role because you're now playing against bench players. And what you've done great is score your entire career. You've been a prolific scorer. So to be able to score against second units and to have that opportunity to watch the game come to you, it'll only elevate you and make you more valuable to again make your career last longer. We saw Jamal Crawford do it. We saw Lou Williams do it. So many guys have made their careers last longer because they've accepted that role and they maximized their potential in that role. You're not going to be asked to be Manu Ginobili. You're just going to be asked to come in and be a prolific scorer, which you've always been. And so I like him in that role too. Moving forward, this is second to last one. Herb Jones is going to end the season by joining the 40-50-90 club or 50-40-90 club. 50% for the field, 40% from three, 90% from the free throw line.
I don't think Herb's gonna do it. I don't like to shoot 40% from three again. Like I don't know. I'm not ruling it out, but I don't think that I would probably have him more like 38, 39 range. Like, and then what? I don't know what he was at on free throws last year. Was he in the 80s?
Last year on free, yep, 86.
Would he qualify? Well, even aside from that, I think Trey's got a better shot to do it than Herb. So
Mm.
I'm gonna because Trey's come close already,
Let me let you
and
know where Herb was last year, just so you know.
I,
So Herb was at 49% from the field, 41% from three, and 86% from the free throw line.
my guess would be that the three drops slightly, like third to 38, 39, which would still be amazing for the Pelicans. Like they'd take that
Agreed.
all day.
Yeah.
And I don't quite see his free throws getting a 90. The reason I think Trey can do it is because I think he's like truly a 90+% free throw shooter.
Yeah.
Like that's who
I
he
agree.
is. And I definitely buy the 40% and then the 50 with just like his improved slashing and finishing. Like I think he could get there too. Like he put up some historic numbers in terms of like his 2 point percentage. If you look at it that way, like he was 60 plus from two, 40 plus from three, 90 plus from the line 2 years ago. He and KD both did it in 22, 23, and I believe they were the first two players in NBA history to do it. So 50, 40, 90 feels like it's going to come for Trey. So I would sell it for her, but I buy it for Trey. I think
Okay.
he's going to do it. Maybe not this year, but he's going to do it at some point soon.
Okay. Final one. Buy or sell. Brandon Ingram does not complete this season as a Pelican.
Ooh, man.
That means that you're
I
buying that he's going to leave, or you're selling that he's staying because you believe he's staying.
I I'll buy that they're going to trade him.
Wow. What does that framework look like? What do you think? Do you think a team
Well,
is
I
going
mean,
to
it's
get?
not it's not there right now, but I mean, I just think you know, I don't think that they see him as like part of the plans long term. And like we've talked about it a lot already, like just the logjam kind of, and just opening stuff up for some of these other guys. And just in terms of the way he plays, like maybe they don't need that as much as they need what like Trey offers them.
Yeah.
Um, they're, going to want to get some value back for him. He's on an expiring contract. I don't think they're going to like extend him or anything long term. Like, I, it just feels that that's the way it's going. I mean, obviously, like so much has been made this offseason of like this lack of market for Brandon, which is kind of sad because he's such a great player. But we all know kind of like what he's looking for in terms of contract. So whether that's him kind of like realizing that maybe you're not going to get that 50 million a year, maybe you have to like, make it known that you would be willing to take less and you would re-sign with this team that trades for you perhaps, or like just the Pelicans taking a lot less than you'd think they could get for Brandon, but just getting some value for him during the season. It's tough though, man. Like, because if they're rolling, which like really rolling, and he's, like doing what we all want him to be doing, shooting more threes, getting to the rim more, defending, then it's like, you don't want to just ship that off. But like, I just get this feeling that the right move will come along. They'll get some decent value back for him, and he'll kind of get a fresh start somewhere else. That'll be just a better mutual fit. And in terms of the Pelicans, like Trey can maybe ascend and turn into a star, because I really think he's got that kind of potential, and I'm just not sure that he can get there with Brandon kind of in front of him, like playing, roughly approximately the same position. That's a tough one. I don't know. I don't have sources like that. I have no idea. Like I'm where all of us are on it. Like I think they would trade him for the right deal, but yeah. But again, if they're really clicking and he's doing his thing, like then they probably don't.
Okay. Okay, I respect that.
That's a tough one. I love Bi, man. I love him. I love him.
Man,
I love Bi and I love the Pels. So it's like tough for me to. I don't
see 'em
want them
split
to
up.
break up, but I feel
Yeah.
like it might be imminent. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when you're posting stuff like "Don't go where you're not wanted" and you're not showing up to player led
Yeah, that
camps,
stuff too.
you're kind of basically saying,
It factors in to what I'm thinking too. Like that's just the feeling I'm kind of getting, but things can change.
yeah,
But I hope it works out. I just want him as a Bi fan. Like I do want him in like a situation where he can really like thrive and get the recognition he deserves and um, compete for a title. But whether that's in New Orleans or not yet remains to be seen. But I'll lean slightly on they move him. It's
okay.
tough though, man. Those are tough. Those are some hot seat questions.
Ooh.
I'm sweating, man.
That's what
I'm
you get on the
sweating.
assist, bro.
It got me sweating.
All right, so this is what we're gonna do to close out the show.
All right.
I'm gonna solo you, and in your solo, you gotta give me your one hot topic thing. It could be whatever it is. You could be my hot or my not hot topic, my hot take. It could be my hot take is Willie Green will not make it through the season or whatever it is. Your hot take, and then you gotta tell me what is going to be the culmination of the 2024-2025 season for the New Orleans Pelicans? Meaning, are they a 55 win team in a second round exit in the playoffs or whatever that looks like? I want to know what's your hot take and how do you think the New Orleans Pelicans end this season?
All right. My hot take for the Pelicans. This is off the top. Didn't think about this, but I think Zion starts shooting threes. I think he at least quadruples his previous high for 3-point attempts in a season, because he can shoot them. It's very low volume, obviously, but his percentage is pretty good. It looks pretty good, and he's going to get a lot of open looks with guys backing off him. And if he can just knock down 35% of those. So yeah, that'll be. I don't know if that even counts as a hot take. Just kind of a random prediction, but I think Zion will start shooting some threes. And then in terms of like where the Pelicans end up, I think they're a playoff team, and depending on matchup, I think they can win a series. I would say like their ceiling is probably you know, winning a playoff series. I think for sure, like a realistic, very realistic ceiling. Obviously, anything can happen. Like they could exceed that, they could fall short of that. But in terms of like a realistic ceiling that I could really see happening, it's like get to the conference semis. I think they could win 50 games. I think they'll make the playoffs, get into the top six, get into the conference semis. And I think there's going to be some matchups that give them trouble, but I think they're going to give some other teams trouble too. And it's hard to predict, not knowing who they would be facing. They're just one of those teams that's going to match up really well against certain teams, and I think really struggle against some other ones. But yeah, look out for those Zion three balls, though. I think they're going to start. I think they're going to start coming up. Who doesn't want to shoot threes, man? Like I always wonder that about these NBA players. We want him to shoot more threes. When I played basketball, if my coach was like, "Brett, shoot more threes," like they're going up. Like who doesn't love shooting threes, man?
Zion,
hey,
from
what
Griffith said and everybody else has said, Zion is the type of guy, and it makes me so mad. They say Zion is the type of guy that thinks, why would I shoot threes when you can't stop me from getting to the basket? And I'm like, because you don't need to go to the basket. Like you can just take 2 to 3 threes a game.
Hey, if they're playing 20 feet off you and you're just standing there, and he's right though, like because he could still. Zion's one of those guys. Like you back off him, you're just giving him a runway. Like some guys that work, Zion, like he can still get, but I want to see him shoot because he's got a soft little shot from three. I like how it looks. I always have. Remember his first game as a pro?
Do I remember it? I was sick with the flu, going crazy. This was around the COVID time.
We were like, "Yo, Zion, he can shoot!" Like,
I was losing it.
Let's bring that back a little bit.
We never saw it again.
I think we see it a little bit this season. I really do.
I hope you're right, brother. Hey. Man, Brett, thank you so much for spending time with me on the assist tonight. It's been a privilege to have you. Always dope to talk to you, brother. You're such a connoisseur of the game, and so I appreciate getting your outlook on the Pelicans and everything around the league. I look forward to having you back in, brother.
Hey, man, seriously, anytime. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for having me on. It's great talking to you, man. It's been too long. We'll do it again soon.
Let's do it, brother. Thank y'all so much for tuning in to The Assist. Once again, me and my man Theodore, we are here to bring you closer to everything going on between those 4 lines called a basketball court. I almost lost my breath there. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. God bless you. Peace be with you. And That's that one.